Good morning and welcome back. Welcome back to Who Am I? And who am I? That's actually a very good question. Who am I? Who am I? This is how I say it all the time. Who am I in reference to source energy? You know? Who am I? Who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I here? How did I get here? How does, what is this medium I'm swimming in? How does that work? How do I work with this medium I'm swimming in? What are the rules of the game? Now, I remember yesterday I didn't quite finish the explanation of Bashar, the 1, 3, 5, 7, 11 download. The 1 was the everything is one and the all are one and the one are all or whatever. That's the 1. And then the 3 is when you try to pop to the polarized viewpoint, the implication is the middle point that sees that sees both sides. So when you try to jump to a 2, it immediately moves you to 3. So it's the 1, 3, and then the 5 is all the rules that you can't change. And I think that's as far as I got. I didn't go on and say what the 7 needs are. And then on top of that, the 11 aspects of joy or bliss or whatever it is. It has to do with, Bashar's formula has to do with following your passion, your highest impulse of passion in any moment. That's your inner being speaking to you. He says a lot of other interesting things too. Like I think it was him that said that it might have been somebody else, but I think it was him. Might have said about your imagination. Actually, what your imagination actually is vibrational downloads from your higher mind communicating with you. That's what your imagination actually is. Anyway, the reason I brought that back up is I was just going to finish it. So the 5 was you exist. There's nothing you can do to change that. Number 2 was everything is here and now. There's nothing you can do to change that. Number 3 is everything is one. Everything is one thing, or there's nothing you can do to change that. The 4th one is you get back what you put out is what you get back. Absolute reflection. The universe is just made that way. There's nothing you can do to change that. And then the last one was everything changes except the laws. There's nothing you can do to change that. So then the 7 was the 7 needs. And I remember the 7 needs was what made me think of this 1357 download yesterday. But then when I explained it, I didn't get all the way to the 7. The reason it's interesting is because if we get everything we need, then we'll survive. We'll be fine. And if you can get your needs and your wants into alignment with one another, you're golden. And as a matter of fact, the universe is actually designed to give it to you. So you aren't going to have any trouble with cooperative components in the rest of the field to all of your desires, as long as you're desiring your needs. And anyway, so what are the 7 needs? In order of how quickly you will die if you do not get them. The last couple take you out pretty slowly, but what will happen if you don't have access to the last 2 is you will slowly quit moving. Your impulses from source will just get less and less and less, and then you will just ossify and die. But anyway, so what are they? Air, and it should be clean air too, by the way. Air, water, clean water. I say that for a reason because normally you wouldn't even have to say that, but in this day and time with human activity such as it is on planet Earth, you gotta say it, because it isn't all clean air and clean water, because we're foul little beasts and we have not learned how to be in a harmonious alliance with the field around us yet. We haven't collectively really even understood that we are part of the field around us. We still have this sort of wild imagining that what's going to happen is we're going to kill off the biofield around us, and then we're just going to be all by ourselves, just fine, but all by ourselves, and then we'll have to get into rocket ships and go to Mars and make our way there. Or some nonsense. Come on, people, get with it. Let's really understand the shape of reality around us. So after water comes sleep, actually. But what I translate that one in is if you're gonna get sleep, you're gonna have to have some sort of peace to give you that sleep. Apparently, if you don't get sleep, you'll go psychotic fairly quickly. I think the reason that is you've got to communicate through your sleeping consciousness with the rest of yourself. There's only one of us here. There really is only one of us here. And we should start thinking of it that way. You know, it's a valid frame to put in your consciousness, in your operating system. It's valid. There's only one of us here. Now, it's true, each and every individual is more motivated to keep themselves safe and alive and fed and comfortable and all that, but there's only one of us here. We'll go into that later. Let's see, sleep, then food, then shelter. And that just means some kind of a sheltering environment. It doesn't necessarily mean a house. Then the sixth one is relationship, and it doesn't have to be with your own kind. It can even be just a relationship with the whole, with the cosmos. And then the last one is expression. So you have to have an outlet to express your individual self. Somehow you have to express. That's why the bird sings. Even the caged bird sings. We all must express, or we'll just cease to be a part of the rest of the pattern. So this morning, I think I need to find where I'm excited about all this, because I am indeed excited about my topic. My topic being, okay, let's start back at the beginning. I know I jumped in and finished my Bashar thing bizarrely, but it's because I didn't finish it yesterday, and I know that nobody listened yesterday, so nobody cares. But if you're interested in what I'm talking about, go back and listen to yesterday. Today's the 4th. Yesterday's was the 3rd of June, 2024. And the show is Who Am I? And basically what we're really doing here is we're going to have a discussion about the very nature of reality. And if you're going to talk about the nature of reality from the vantage point of a human being, you kind of have to talk about the nature of a human being, their biotechnology, their basic configuration, the setup of their mind, overmind, and conscious mind, like your micro and your macro is how I look at it. There's all kinds of ways to look at it. It's your eternal aspect and your expirational aspect, and both of them are you. And the two of those things combine to become who we all really are, which is this great big thing that is very much attached to real reality, to an evolving and expanding universe. And the universe is learning. We are the universe. We are learning. We are the universe learning. All kinds of very, very cool things. And so it's valid, I believe, to ask the question, who am I? And to ask it every day. And we're going to ask it with a couple of intentions, we do have an agenda. We do have an agenda. We have several things on the agenda. One is we would like to raise the consciousness of mankind. Through the raising of my own consciousness, I will raise the consciousness of mankind. Because I am mankind. I am a mankind. Absolutely. And you are too. We are all mankind with a capital M. Humanity with a capital H. There's all kinds of philosophers out there and gurus and teachers and understanders of this material out there calling this super being that we are different things. Just whatever it is you usually would say, call it a word, it's vibrationally accurate, then capitalize it. That's what we are. We are a super organism. On the planet, we have a supply chain that we are creating. We have a communications system. We have a flow of that supply chain has a what would you call the system that an exchange of goods and services system that is flowing that supply chain across the field. And the different creatures, it's being set up right now so that whatever you have to offer, you can put it down on the supply chain. There's all kinds of ways to monetize here. There's all kinds of ways to capitalize in this system. It's come down to, with the internet, that just the ability to attract attention is monetizable. You know, you get views and you'll get money because that's just the way that's the way it's set up. Now, the agenda that I have, I did say that it was to raise the consciousness of mankind. That sounds a little bit bold. But also, bolder still, I want this higher awareness that we possess, that we achieve, to get us off fossil fuels. I know we can do it. I know that we can do it. I do now know that. Now the question is, will we? I think that in order to take the next step in this, more of us need to be more aware that we can do it. Because our hopefulness, our understanding that we can do it is just going to allow us to turn and do it. Right now, since we don't know that we can do it, nobody's getting up and doing it. It's sort of like, when you know you can do it, you just do it. It becomes part of your behavior. When you don't know, then you're like, oh, I should I? It's like if you know something, that you can do something like get up and walk across the room. Now, forgive me if you're a paraplegic and I just said that. But for a lot of people who know that they can get up and walk across the room, they don't sit there and agonize, should I, can I, will I, when will I, they just do it. They just get up and walk across the room, especially if they want to. And in this, I know that this will happen. We will get off fossil fuels as soon as we realize that we can. And it's actually going to be way more simple than we believe. So it turns out, hold on a second. Oh no, okay, I know what that is. In my videos every day, I put a list, a description of all the links that I put. This is in the description of my video. It probably ought to be somewhere else, but that's where it is. And the very first one is The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. And this is a documentary series, not a series, it's a documentary movie documenting a century-long brutal suppression of incremental great ideas that would have moved us a little more and a little more and a little more until today we probably wouldn't be on fossil fuels at all, except for maybe those tiny bits, maybe to make a few plastic things, because it's still great as a building material, plastic, to make plastic, although we got to be careful with it because plastic is everywhere and it in itself is killing us. But we can get past all this. We can get through all of this. First thing we need to do, get off fossil fuels. It's part of my agenda. Another part of my agenda is I believe that a higher understanding of who we are and how we function and operate within ourselves and within the field around us will lead us to be a more peaceful species upon this earth. Peace on earth, goodwill towards men. Peace on earth, goodwill towards men. That's something we say every Christmas. That's a common expression at Christmas. You know, it's on Christmas cards and in Christmas songs and stuff. And the Bible probably says something in there. But the fact is that it is largely the way we are scraping the way we are producing our energy is what is producing the artificial paradigm of lack upon the face of the planet. The way we do our transportation systems, so because our vehicles have to mash their freaking earthbound wheels along the surface of the planet because we have not conquered gravity. But we can. We absolutely can. The mathematics is there. But it's easier than that, because in the lost century, you see that we don't even have to completely understand source energy and plug all the way into source energy to get us way the heck down the road in our quest to be off fossil fuels. Actually, before I launch into what I was just about to launch into, let me just finish an explanation of this slide that you're seeing, in case you are a brand new watcher and not a long time fan of the show. We've got the lost century and how to reclaim it, the origin of mass and nature of gravity, the YouTube video that explains that explains the formal paper, the scientific paper, The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity, which is lower down. The paper itself, I put the link also. The Connected Universe. Oh, I missed one. The Quantum Revolution. Nassim Haramein's 12-episode series over on Gaia that describes, in layman's terms, what he's trying to say, how the mathematics links up the universe, and what it is implying about the nature of the universe, the holographic nature of the universe, the superfluid plasma that the universe is made of, how all of that, how gravity is baked into the cake. And so if you really want to understand gravity, you need to understand the structure of the universe and the mathematics of this. And you can do it in your layman's mind. You don't have to be a mathematician. As a matter of fact, that description is going to be laced all through my show, right and left, all day long, because it's part of why I do this show. Because I can see what Nassim is trying to say about the nature of the universe. And I'm thinking to myself all the things that that's implying. You know, from my understanding of the law of attraction, and then this understanding of the nature of gravity and where mass and matter is coming from, how everything is becoming, and be going, this great manifestation of flux that it always changes. Everything about it changes all the time, except for the laws that govern it. That's number 5 in the 5th one of Bashar's 1357 download, the 5 things you can't change. The last one is everything changes except the laws. There's nothing you can do to change that. That's actually what's happening. And if you can understand how it's becoming and be going, but becoming is the one you need to be focusing on. The passing, it just will. Don't focus there, you'll start to get sad. You'll get all melancholy and sentimental and maudlin if you focus on the begoing. Focus on the becoming, because that's actually where the really interesting stuff is. That's where the pre-manifestation, where you are in the process of creating, that's where that is. So stay focused on the becoming. Let me keep going with this list of. So then there's the Connected Universe. That's the 2016 movie made by, I don't know who made it, but it's a big enough movie that Patrick Stewart is narrating it. And it's all about, this movie declaring this great news that the quantum and the cosmological worlds have been connected. The problem, I think, is that when you realize what it's saying, you realize that it implies the necessity for a new way of looking at the world. And conventional physics is not willing to look at it in a new way. They just want the math that will allow them to keep thinking about it in the old way. We're all disconnected parts of, independent. We actually are extremely independent from one another. However, we are also divinely connected to one another at a very deep level. But we are connected. We also have a thing that I like to call divine autonomy. Your own little piece of the individuation of all of the spins, your little individual spin is very important. What's important about it is in that little space that you have, you contain the whole thing, and you have everything that you need in a whole way to do everything to keep yourself safe, to understand everything you need to know, to ambulate your system into whatever spaces you desire. You have all the control that you need to have from your little individuated space. That's what the meaning to me of my concept of divine autonomy, what that means. When you come into your own divine autonomy, you learn that you have all of the keys, all of the power and control that you need to organize and orchestrate your life within this magnificent field that we all share and are co-creating with and on. You have everything that you need to navigate whatever life you want to live. It's really actually quite spectacular. And then when you realize how we are all co-creating this field together, and you realize, oh, I have this much power, we all have so much power, we can fix every problem that we need to fix. We just, first of all, I think we need to understand what the problem is. And I believe the problem is that we don't know who we are. And we don't know what our powers are. And we don't know how the field works. And we don't know how to interact with the field. And we don't know how to interact with each other to create a successful conclusion or accomplishment or journey, or whatever you want, whatever successful, whatever endeavor are you trying to accomplish. If you don't know how the field works, if you don't know how the rules are, if you don't know what the rules are, well, one of the rules is the law of attraction, which says that which is like unto itself is drawn. And it's talking about vibrational frequencies that resonate with one another, is actually what that's what it's talking about. And it applies to thoughts that you're taking with your physical mind. It also applies to thoughts that your source mind is taking with its vibrational mind. Who knew you had one? That's actually the revelation. As I realized when I listened to the teachings of Abraham during most of the year 2020 and meditated quite a bit and read, I was into all kinds of things up to that point. listened to Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Eckhart Tolle, went to a week-long seminar, actually, at the Omega Center in upstate New York. I don't know if they consider that upstate. It's north of New York City on the Hudson River, the Omega Center. Went and did a 5-day Eckhart Tolle seminar. It was actually really pretty good, and his ideas of the pain body and stuff. I have my YouTube playlists are like a record, a history of the things that I thought about and the people that I listened to as I traversed my path to this understanding that I've got right now, which is, who are we and where are we going and how did we get here and how do we become more successful? How do we create enough abundance on planet Earth, planet Terra, planet Eden, planet Gaia? How do we create enough abundance here to support us all the human beings that want to be here and all of the other beings that want to be here too, and that we need to have here? We are not just human beings. We are the universe, by the way. Thank you very much. And we don't do very well unless we include in our we more than just human beings. Human beings need more than just human beings. Now, it would be an easy stretch for human beings to add into the we all of our animals, our horses and our dogs and our cats and our pet birds and our gerbils and stuff. That's easier for us to start adding those in. But the we that we are is really everybody. There is only one of us here. It is the we that we all are. And it is the biofield of planet Earth. And when you start really getting into the peaceful center of your own inner being and start clicking into the rest of reality around you, true reality around you, you start feeling the frequencies of the rest of the field, and you start recognizing deeply, deeply, deeply within you how much of a we all are. Now, having said that, I completely get what human beings are doing, and we are really, really special and cool. And we should continue to do what we do. But we need to get a little smarter about it. The old commercial, the IBM commercial. Let's build a smart world. Let's build a smarter world. Or something like that. Let's build a smarter world. And I'm thinking, yeah, let's build a smarter world. It's so stupid. It is stupid what we have done. And so I didn't talk much about this yesterday. Am I going to jump over here onto this side of the agenda? I told you I have two big matters on the agenda. Two intentions with my work, with this work, whatever the heck it is I'm doing in here, as I try to engage my higher perspective, my broader perspective, and click it into harmony with my broader perspective physical mind too, which, by the way, as long as it understands its subordinate role to your true greater knowing, your physical brain actually is pretty smart, and there's a lot of things that it can do. But it's a secondary organ. Don't let it lead the way. I learned that little line from, it's a secondary organ and it thinks it's running the show. That's actually the line, and it comes, I heard that from Joseph Campbell, took that one to heart. I'm like, you know what, you're right. You're right about that. I'm going to take that one as truth. I'm going to believe that one. I'm entering that into my internal operating system, because I believe that it's true. And of all the thoughts that I have chosen to, I believe that one was a good one to have added. Anyway, let me finish with this really quickly so I can move away from this very boring slide. I have here, living in the future's past. That's not really, that isn't a wholeness. It's an aspect of the picture. It's not a wholeness thing. More, some of the other stuff is more, speaks more in wholeness. But this one, what I like about this one is how it brings up we are a superorganism. And you, as you watch it, you realize, oh, it's true. We are a superorganism. I think we need to start thinking of ourselves that way. Quit thinking of yourself so freaking individualistic. Now, on the other hand, when we're going to go in and talk about divine autonomy at some point, and you're going to realize that actually, I'm not saying don't be individualistic at all. You have to be both. Supremely, divinely, absolutely, authentically individual. You are absolutely unique. You are a snowflake. And I don't mean that in the sense of, I mean that in your uniqueness, not in your fragility. You are absolutely unique, and at the same time, we are still a superorganism. And you gotta compute both of those things in, and we haven't been that good at doing that. Anyway, going on, Butterfly Dreaming, it's just an article. Go read it. If you've already read it, sorry that it's still on the list, but I liked it, so there it is. The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity paper, and then the last thing is because everything, all motion that you are experiencing is actually, you could think of it as the infinitude of plates that God is spinning. But God knows how those plates are spinning. And the God that knows is not actually, it's not an anthropomorphized being sitting separate from you, judging you. That's not the form I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about a singularity of spin on the one hand. So this is like paradox, where everything is paradox, and you've got to set with the paradox. And actually, as you set with the paradox, you realize the place to sit is right in the center. And you see the paradoxical sides on both sides of you, the polarities and such. And you sit in the center and you go, that's what you do. So the paradox is that on the one hand, there is only one spin. And we are all coming forth out of that same spin. And yet, on the other hand, every one of us is a divine individuation possessing our own spin, our own individual spin. And I believe perhaps our own individual spin, let me change slides here because it's about time to change to yet another slide. As I go through my presentation of who am I, and where did we come from, where are we going, why are we here, how does it work, all of that, without resistance. No resistance in this conversation. There will be no resistance in this conversation. It is assumed as soon as you step into the door of this conversation that all is well. Everything is fine. All is as it should be. It's all perfect. Push back against nothing. Just understand. So it's possible for everything to be perfect on the one hand, and for you to not be understanding it and having a horrible ride, a terrible time, a very rough ride. Both of those things are possible to exist at the same time. It is absolutely perfect and there is nothing wrong with anything. However, our not understanding of it is what the problem is. It's sort of like if you possessed so I'm going to go on to this slide, which I will be describing in just a second. This is, if you're a fan of the show, you know that this slide represents to me, the presenter of this show, this slide represents your two minds. The one is your source mind, connected to all things in reality, connected to all the rest of the field, connected to all of the rest of everything, materiality everywhere. That's what your source mind is. Your source mind knows everything. This is why a lot of times we call this God. It's omniscient, knows everything. What is it looking at? If it knows everything, what is it looking at? Is it looking at what it knows? No, not necessarily, although everything it looks at, it knows. What is it looking at? What is your inner being looking at? What are all the inner beings looking at? It's a good question, actually. It's an interesting question, and if I'm to believe all the teachings of all the gurus that I have absorbed, I know what the answer is. I know what your inner being is looking at. I know what I'm gonna make her a she because it feels more correct for it to be a she, although it's not a she in a gender kind of way. It's more a she in a nurturing, expansive, abundance kind of way. You know, it's that kind of a feminine energy, I believe, although the masculine and feminine are both frequencies that need to come together to create the next generation somehow. The universe doesn't work well with just she. It has to have the he in there too. So I don't know, but I call the inner being the great inner being. I tend to call it a she, but I don't really know what it is. I am not Abraham, and I do not know. As a matter of fact, if you want to know what it is I'm doing in this show, I'm sort of demonstrating an ability to blend both your specific individual physical mind and your broader perspective source mind, and kind of work along the same kinds of thoughts so that my physical mind is thinking the kinds of thoughts that my inner being likes to think. And anyway, the only reason I said that was that this space is non-resistant. Whatever we talk about, we are talking about it without resistance. But the whole intention is to better understand ourselves so that then we can turn back to our physical lives, each individually, and do a better job of lining up with your inner being and harmonizing more and co-creating more cooperatively with the rest of the field that you are a part of, whether you know it or not. That's my intention. And I believe that the reason we bang around a little rougher on Earth right now is that we don't know who we are, and we are not correctly understanding, generally speaking, in a general way. Most of us do not understand who we are and what our task is. We think our task directly is to go out and make the world a better place. Well, I would agree with that. But unless you know how to make the world a better place, you just charging out and, with your hair on fire, stirring things up, wreaking holy vengeance, or whatever it is that you're doing with your hair on fire, is not necessarily making it any kind of a better place. And you need to know that before you run out with your action and try to act without understanding what you are acting in and from. And that is why I do this show. Now, actually, I realize my chair creaks, and it's probably an annoying sound on the show. I noticed the other day how if you're watching Star Trek Next Generation, if Klingons are ever in the room, there is this sound of creaking leather. Once I noticed it, it started to be quite annoying to me. So I probably shouldn't have pointed out that my chair creaks. I'm so sorry about that. What I should do, what I was thinking is maybe I should pause for a second and then put on, some sort of soft music in the background. Would that be more annoying, or would it be good? Would it be a good thing if I had some sort of ambient music in the background behind me? I need to think about that. Maybe that's something I should add to the show. I don't know. When I watch shows like, there's a bunch of shows on Discovery and History Channel and stuff that have really loud, dramatic music all the time. And, they're documentaries talking about different things, that they want you to be excited about. But I'm like, would you lay off the music, please? So I don't really know whether you want me to put, drowning out the creek. Maybe I should just get a different chair for the show. This chair over here. See, because it's an office chair. That's why it creaks. Anyway, so sorry. Back to the show. I do believe that, I'm going to turn a fan on. That's going to help. Anyway, I do believe that the biggest problems that humanity faces are in general being caused because he doesn't know who he is. We do not know who we are, and we don't know how to operate our own equipment individually, and how that's going to change the game. When we more generally understand who we are and how the field that we're swimming in works, how this medium that we are swimming in works, and how to operate our own equipment individually, what to focus on, what not to focus on, and why. Remember, if you want to understand the world, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Do not think in terms of solid, separate objects. We are not solid, separate objects. We are vibrational, intertwined objects on a field, on a grid that is flowing with each other. We cannot escape each other. We are a single morphogenetic field. What is a morphogenetic field? Actually, morphogenetic fields are interesting. Rupert Sheldrake has a lot to say about them. Go Google him. Actually, don't Google him. Go over to YouTube and YouTube him and listen to some of the things that he has to say and some of the studies, the esoteric kinds of studies that he has done as he studies this field that we're this. So a morphogenetic field is like a field of information. I don't know whether this is going to be a helpful angle. Let's go back to, we are a binary system. You are a binary system. And your whole self is vibrational, actually. So you're a vibrational being in a vibrational universe. The whole universe is vibrational, and you are vibrational. And your physical body technically is vibrational too. But it's a real dense, it's matter. It's a denser vibration than the rest of you, which is just pure vibration. So there's the you that's from the skin in, and then there's the you that's from the skin out, that goes all the way to the rest of the universe. And this, you actually do have this aspect, and this aspect of you is thinking thoughts. And this aspect of you is connected to you too. It's not just something you have access to and you could go over there and look, but when you aren't looking, it doesn't affect you. The fact is that this aspect of you is grounding you, and you can't escape from it. This source aspect of you is you connected at the singularity point, the point where the one spin, the many spins come out of the one. The one is your source mind, and it's got you anchored into physical reality, into positive physical reality, positive, expanding, real reality. It's got you grounded there. Whatever you in your physical mind, whatever fantasies you're going after, your source mind is deeply grounded in all that is and all that is around you. And you can't escape it. And you wouldn't even really want to. But the reason I say you can't escape it is your source mind is always positive. Always positive. It's always just looking at what is and what could be and what is possible and what you want and where you want to go and what all of the interesting stuff. That's what your source self is looking at and thinking about. It's never looking backwards in regret or sorry that you... It's never looking that direction. It's always looking at what is and where you're going and what you want and what's possible and what would be fun and what you love. That's always where your source mind is looking. Now, this is the explanation of your negative emotion, because you have a relentlessly positive aspect of yourself that you cannot escape. And so when you, in your small self, your micro self, your physical self, your explorational self, your conventional self, you in that aspect of you, when you choose to take thoughts that are less, that frequency that thought is on clashes with your source thought, which is it's always positive, relentlessly loving and kind and inclusive and understanding, and always grounded in the is with a capital I, never looking at the is not or the was or the whatever, always looking at what, knowing what is and looking forward to how this could be combined to make even more exciting, wonderful, how, we can solve this problem, and this would be so much fun, and yes, let's do this. That's always the kind of thing your source mind is looking at. So if you are spending all of your thoughts in either judging your neighbors, or being disappointed about such and such, or noticing that your body is physically alone in the space in this moment. What? There's nothing I can do about it. Well, these thoughts clash with the with the frequencies that your source mind is thinking at all times. And so this is why you have negative emotion. When you take a small thought, your relentlessly positive self has taken big, grand, fun, expansive, joyful, possible thoughts. And they have a certain frequency. And when you take these small, mean, little judgy, disempowering, I'm nothing, I'm nowhere, I got no power, those kind of thoughts, or that guy he's bad, my neighbor, he's so mean, or any thoughts like that. Can you feel the frequency difference between those thoughts? Between expansive thoughts of we can do anything, and look at where everything is, and let's do this and let's do that. It's going to be fun. Yay! The frequency of those kinds of thoughts versus the kinds of thoughts that most people think. Disempowering. I'm nothing. I'm no one. Who am I? And I've never done anything, and my neighbors, or whatever, all the little mean little thoughts that we think in our physical minds. And how those frequencies, do they line up? Are the thoughts that your physical self are thinking, do those thoughts line up in any way with the frequencies of what your greater self is thinking? Do they line up or not? If they clash, if they are in resonant discord with one another, you are experiencing negative emotion. And here we are with that one. Here's your emotional guidance scale. This will tell you how well you are blending or not blending with your higher self that knows who you are, where you have come from, and where you are going, and what's happening all around you, and what's possible all around you. That's what your inner being knows. How well are you lining up with what she knows? Well, there's only one way you can, and that is by paying attention to how your thoughts are making you feel. If your thoughts are making you feel bad, don't blame the conditions outside of you. Blame the thoughts you took, because that's where the problem is. The problem is not with the field. And now, obviously, we've got a lot of problems with the field. There are a lot of things going on out there that we don't like, and we would like physically to fix. In physicality, we would like to go forth and make the field more harmonious. That's true. However, you got to understand how to do it. And you don't just like wade in like a bull in a china shop and start taking names and kicking ass, because you don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't be kicking ass. You should be loving ass, and you should be playing with. Actually, I need to get off the word ass, because that's going to start implying some things different. But you should be harmoniously dancing with the rest of the field, not belligerently kicking ass around you, because it's all out of order. Let's put it in order and make it triplicate. Ooh, the law and order people. Ooh, watch out for the law and order people. You really don't want the law and order people. The problem is we are still stuck in a moment. We are still in the time of the law. We have not yet successfully transitioned into the time of the Spirit yet. But I think we're in transition. We will get there, I believe. There's going to be an analogy to the second coming of Jesus, too. Forget the second coming of Jesus. Let's talk about the second coming of Christ, which is a different thing. Christ being the Christ Spirit rising in the field, and our collective understanding of how to connect by way of a spirit instead of by the law. That's actually the meaning. My mother used to try to tell me this. The meaning of the difference between the Old and New Testament is this one was the time of the law, and then this one was the time of the Spirit brought into the field by Jesus Christ, who may or may not have actually been a historical figure. There's so many different traditions that pick him up, one way or another, that it's hard to believe that he doesn't have something to do with reality. But in any case, whether he lived or not, he had teachings, and those teachings represent an understanding of the Christ Spirit within all of us, and us lining up with our inner beings. Actually, that I see an analogy in my work to Christian understandings of things. I see an analogy, and I'm not going to push back against anything. I'm pushing back against no one. And actually, my work here, my discussion, is going to try to be a conversation about reality that has absolutely no resistance whatsoever. We resist nothing. We push back against nothing. Although I spot where we want to go around the resistance, I can see it. Where we want to get to is we need to get off fossil fuels. It's the one activity that we need to get off fossil fuels, A, and we need to understand gravity, B. We need to understand both of those two things, because that's going to bring us our abundance back. Those are the reasons we are killing the planet. Our activity, digging up the fossil fuel, refining it, piping it across sacred aquifers down to refineries that then put it on barges and ship it across heaving seas to markets that can then, that far-reaching places that commodify their own ecosystems in order to pay for that power, to pay for that energy. And then they concrete and asphalt their environments so that their vehicles that run on this noxious shit can... we do not have to do it this way. I'll tell you what we want. There's a lot of things that human beings want to continue to do because we think it's fun. We love to travel. We love to move or circulate around the planet, and our goods and services circulates around the planet. Our transportation systems, our communications, our powers, everywhere are circulating around the planet. We are doing that. We like to do that. We like to visit each other. We like to see how the other side of the world lives. We like to visit other cultures. We like to taste each other's food. We like to look at each other's homes and buy each other's souvenirs and stuff. We enjoy doing this. We really do. We have a good time doing this. We will continue to do this in the future. We need to learn how to do it more, less destructively. If we weren't burning fossil fuels, our carbon footprint wouldn't be a thing, first of all. It just wouldn't be a thing. And no one would have a carbon footprint, and the earth could breathe again. When we understand how this quantum field works, it's like the universe itself is like this massive 3D printing machine that can print anything. Anything. These plonks can arrange into anything. Into any element. Into any... it's all plonks. Everything is... The plonks are like the divine Play-Doh that the universe is made of. If we understood the mathematics of how it all comes together, how it dovetails, how it fits, how it backwards and forwards and in and out, and how we sit in the center of it, and what consciousness is actually right in the center of this equation, which is probably one of the biggest reasons why conventional physics is going to probably not accept Nassim's work, because of what it implies about who we are. It's unfortunate because we have a future so bright, so friggin' bright. It's going to be so much fun and so amazing. And the world of the 22nd century and the 23rd century is just going to be breathtaking in how amazing and fun and interesting and possible everything is going to be. I absolutely believe that because I can see how the field functions, and I can see who we are. And I can see that us not knowing who we are and not knowing how the field functions has got us stymied. But if we would quit focusing upon, just get your eyes off of our problems for just a minute, and focus for just a minute on who we are and how cool it is, and how this whole thing works. Now, when you turn back and look at the problem, you realize how to fix it. Well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with it. It is functioning perfectly. So now what's the answer? Understand how it works. And then we'll be able to use its magnificent potential. Oh, my fan has a little noise. It's not the white noise I wish it was. Hold on. There, I don't know. I put some music on in the background. I don't know whether that's a good idea or a bad idea. I should probably test that, but I can't test it in the middle of a recording. So I'll have to test it when I'm done. We'll beta test this and see whether it's a good idea. Maybe it's a little loud. I don't know. Now it's so soft you may not be able to hear what it even is. Anyway, let's go back to this picture, because what this one represents to me, like I said, this is your source mind and your physical specific self. This is your system, your micro and your macro, or your macro and your micro, however you want to look at that. You are the formless coming into form. That's who you actually are. You are not the form. You are the formless coming into form. And that form changes. Everything changes except the laws. There's nothing you can do to change that. So interesting. So, on the one hand, we're going to get off fossil fuels through the power of 1,000 good ideas. And ultimately, where we are headed is little devices that plug our technology without wires directly into source energy, little solid state devices in every home. And your technology, you just tune it to that frequency, to the frequency of your little source box, and run your equipment on it without wires, without cords, without grids, without the infrastructure that we have built to support the technology of the 20th century. And it is 20th century stuff. It ain't 21st century, I promise you. There isn't any 21st century stuff out there for the most part that you can see much of. The internet, yeah, it's the beginnings of our the central nervous system of humanity with a capital H is the internet, is what it is, how we're communicating information across the spaces with one another from the outside. Now, it turns out on the inside, we already have access to everybody's information. Did you know that? You have access to everything. We're going to have a hard time living in a world that depends on us keeping information separate from one another, because information flows. Information flows across the spaces and you can't stop it. There is such a thing as universal consciousness, and the universe is holographic. Both of those two things involve everything having access to all the information. And yes, individual information is pocketed in a convoluted, it's not like right out in the middle of the road, but it isn't going to take us long before nothing can be kept secret. And by the time we get to that place, we generally had better have a lighter view, or that's going to be a dark time as opposed to a very good time, which is what I think it's going to be. So I'm going to get off of this is my aperture picture, right? Source mind, specific mind. This one tells me, this is your 4 general states of being. I don't know why my slide is corrupting there. It used to be quite clear. I don't know what the problem is. This tells you so as you are moving around the universe, you are flying your vehicle of light, your starship, if you will. You are flying it through space and time. And how you feel in any given time is an indication of how well the two selves of you are blending. If your self is blending well, then put on the gas. If you're not blending well, put on the brakes. What are the brakes? What is the gas? Well, the gas is going specific, and the brakes is going general. So if you don't feel good, if you're in a state of negative emotion of any sort, pull back. Pull back to the general. Don't try to get specific, thinking of it as conditionally, primarily conditional, and that your action has to solve this no matter how I feel. Your very feeling is your indication that you're doing the wrong action, that you're moving in the wrong direction. You are going 180 degrees in the opposite direction of the way you want to go. If you're generally negative, you're slowly going there. If you're specifically negative, you are quickly going 180 degrees in the opposite direction of what you want on the physical grid. That's how your emotions work. So how do you fix this? How do you solve this? Care how you feel. Do not be willing to hold on to thoughts that don't feel good when you think them. You may think, well, I'm thinking this thought, it's true, so I need to keep thinking it. It feels bad as I'm thinking it, but I need to keep thinking it because it's true. Well, true is kind of a funny thing. What is truth? That is a question that's been asked for a long time. There's all kinds of things that are true. There's a lot of horrible things that are true. And there's a lot of wonderful things that are true. And depending on how you bang around in this world, you can make more of either of one of those things true. You can either make more horrible true or more good true. The question is, the answer is, how are you focusing? Because how you're focusing is why you're getting what you're getting, not what the condition is or what's true, or it's how you're focusing upon stuff is determining whether you are contributing to making more of the crap true or more of the good stuff true. Which one are you making more? Because whatever you're looking at, whatever you're thinking about, and however you are feeling, that's the direction you're flying your starship. If you're general, you're going there slowly. If you're specific, you're going there quickly. If you feel good, great. Then that's your indication. Your broader perspective is giving you the green light. Ooh, that feels good. Keep doing that. Ooh, that feels bad. Don't do that. But we don't let go of thoughts because they feel bad if we believe they're true. Because we think it's our responsibility to hold on to things no matter how they feel. If they're true, we gotta hold on to it. Because we're trying to understand objective reality. You know what? I can kind of respect that because I did that for many years early on in my life. And if I had not done it, I would not have as full of an understanding of this universe as I do. And it gives me some kind of unique perspectives as I watch, for instance, this coming election unfold. That's just nuts. I can't even understand. And you know what? The problem is if they take Trump down and put somebody else up, Biden's such a weak candidate that anybody but Trump might just win that Republican nomination right now. And you think that Trump is the strongest one, but the non-Trump candidate's probably going to get all the independents and probably some annoyed Democrats too. Trump is just such a toxic person that the problem with him is if he ends up making it to the election and getting votes of any number of votes, doesn't matter if it's 2 or 3 or 10 or a million, he'll probably show up on the 20th of January to be inaugurated because he's going to claim he won, whether he did or not. That's all very... Oh, dear. Dear, 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 dear. I have a healthy respect for the phenomenon that Carl Jung used to call authoritarian psychosis. I believe this is the same, it ends up being the same condition that Paul Levy calls Wetiko. It is a Native American term. The Native Americans, they noticed that the white man had this condition. What it is it's basically the head is not connected to the heart. The brain and the heart are not communicating with one another optimally. There's actually an organization, they've been operating for about 25 years, studying this heart-brain connection and the powerful meaning of it. The profound... Hold on. I'm sorry, I recognized the signs. I was getting ready to catch a dose of hiccups, which I do not want. And I would have had to gone out to the kitchen and got myself some lime and bitters in order to get myself away from that had I caught them, which I didn't. So there we go. How do we want to talk about this? So basically, your head and your heart not connected to one another. That kind of sounds like this. This is your head and your heart not connected to one another. Well, if these two minds are not functioning with one another, if they are not resonating with one another, if they are not in harmonious, resonant interaction with one another, then you've got a case of Wetiko disease. And everyone has the potential for it, because it's the potential of the human psyche to get this way, to not be in alignment with itself. The reason I think that we have the tendency to get out of alignment is because I think we were genetically modified. We are not a natural creature. And so this natural harmony that happens with all the rest of the creatures, what our genetic modification gave us was our larger, broader perspective mind, which you would think would be uniquely designed to line up with your broader perspective source mind. And it is. However, if you have a traumatized human psyche, we tend to have a tendency, I suppose that's redundant, we have a tendency to go negative, to believe our negative mind, to project outwards and believe that what's causing our problem is in the outside condition, not in the way that we are focusing on the outside condition. Because it is the way that we are focusing on the outside condition that causes us to be in alignment with ourselves or not. And a human being out of alignment with itself is a terrible, destructive beast. Tends to make war with one another, upon one another, tends to destroy his ecological environment. There's all kinds of things that we do when we are not in alignment with ourselves. So what we actually need to do is get into alignment with the rest of the field around us. But how you do that is you do not have to look outside of yourself to do that. You only have to go inside yourself and get into alignment with your own broader perspective self to do that. And the reason that you can do it from that way is because your broader perspective self is in contact and concert and communion and communication or whatever. It is in touch with all of the rest of reality. So you don't have to look outward to be in touch with the rest of reality. You need to look inward to be in touch with the rest of reality, because you've got this binary system within you that needs aligning. And once you align that, now turn outwards and interact with your outside world. That's how your system is supposed to work. But we don't understand our systems. We don't understand this internal aspect, this internal bit. We are taught from the cradle to the grave in my culture. Now, there's all kinds of cultures going on all over the world, but largely Western culture teaches you that you are your physical body and you are your physical life. And there's an aspect of that that's very true, but it's not who you mostly are. I think who you really are, and I put the emphasis on the word really are instead of, you could say mostly are or really are. I think that it's who you really are, because it's who you always are, is your source side. That one is who you always are. You always are that one. When you are your physical self, you're still your source self. When your physical body dies, you're still your source self. You're always that source self. You're only sometimes your expirational self. Only right now you're in your physical body. Your physical body is going to pass. And that form of you will pass away, never to be again. And that is something profound. It's something to recognize and celebrate and mourn, all of these things. But it isn't who you really are. Who you really are is the formless coming into the form. And how does the form come into form? What is it turning on? I think it's desire. Desire of every individual being across the field. And what Source is looking at, Source is looking for the win-win-win-win-win-win position. The win-win-winningest win-win-win-win position out there. And whoever can claim that ground is the one that gets all the cooperative components. All of the universe works with you when you are looking for the win-win. When you're just in the win-lose category, win-lose, I gotta win because everyone else is gonna lose, and then I gotta win. And I'm gonna stand on top of the mountain, I will be the last one left, and everyone else will eat my dust and all that. If that's your position, the universe is not interested in much of that. It's looking for the win-win. It doesn't want you to win and everything else to lose. That's not a win-win position. So I claim that I believe that we are genetically modified. I might as well go here because looks like I have about 14 minutes left in the show, and then I got to go do something else with my day. I got to go live a physical life. I got to make physical choices. I have a physical family. I have a spouse. I have children. I have grandchildren. I got to go bowl today. I bowl in a league. I played golf yesterday, and I got to make dinner. I got to do laundry. What on earth am I playing? Oh, okay. You can't even hear this flute music anymore. Oh well, it doesn't matter. After I finish this show, which is me for an hour and a half being completely unconditional, absolutely non-resistant thought, and we're just talking about who am I, where do we come from, where are we going, how does it work, blah, 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 all of that. And then as soon as I'm done with this, I gotta do what everybody else does. I gotta go out and make my physical life work. So I put up this slide. This is I don't really like that background music. I'm just going to stop it. Here is a diagram of your neocortex. Think of your neocortex as your overmind. It's a layer of mind that can evaluate the bigger picture around you. And actually, I believe that your neocortex, your overmind in your physical mind, has the capacity, I think it's like a template that's ready to understand the big picture. You really can with your neocortex. This is actually your neocortex, and the thoughts that it produces create your emotion. Your emotional system comes from your neocortex. It comes from your ability to have this overmind, this you can take thoughts that are bigger thoughts. And if they blend well with what your real overmind knows and thinks, and let's see, where is it? It's the slide that says that one right there. Your real overmind is actually your source mind, the one on the left. Your neocortex belongs to this system over here on the right, your physical mind. So when your physical mind takes thoughts that resonate with your broader perspective mind, that's when you feel good. That's when your emotions feel good. That's how you can tell whether you're blending well or not. And really, that's your only job. That's your only job that's anything like work. Everything else will feel like flow to you if you can line this part of you up. Line it up. Don't be so willing to feel bad. Don't believe your thoughts when they take you into... When your thoughts feel bad when you think them, it's time to take a different thought. Because when your thoughts feel bad when you think them, it means you have taken a thought that does not blend with your broader self. So pick a different one. Just pick a different one. Now, sometimes that's hard. You can't just pick a different thought because this thought has me going. Why does it have me going? Because I let law of attraction get a hold of it. Every 15, 16 seconds. You think a thought and another one that resonates with that is going to join it. Now you've got a body of thought, and now you're more, and then another 15 seconds and more. And by the time you get 1 minute, you have multiplied your thoughts 4 times, and it's probably exponential. You've probably magnified them 4 times. And now you've got quite a lot of information going down this negative track, and it's going to be a little bit harder to let go. I do this, not that one, this picture, because it shows you the momentum. As you get going with the negative thought, that momentum picks up, and then you're off to the races, and you're pissed, and you're sad, or you're angry, or you're frightened, and then the next thing you know, you've joined a group. Resonate, all these people, oh, you're sad too, you're mad too, you're pissed off too. Excuse me. Let's join together and commit some action. That's actually what's going on in our political arena. We have the angry party. And increasingly, the angry party is up against the frightened party. And we've got a mess on our hands. We really need to know who we are, people, in order for us to really make this work here on the planet. We can get off of fossil fuels. We can recreate the abundance back on this planet. We can re-garden Eden. And that is what we are here for. We are here to garden Eden. We are caretakers. We are guardians. We are custodians. We are nurturers. We are builders. We are creators. We are possibility finders. And someone gave us this equipment, by the way. I started to do this. I don't have much time left. But so we saw the neocortex. Where 76% of the volume of this comes from human chromosome number 2, which, by the way, is a fusion, and it's a fused chromosome. We conclude that is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. Now, if they mean what they're saying here, that's pretty damn profound. What this means is that human beings, what created the anatomically modern human was a genetic modification, and it would have happened about 200,000 years ago. It would be my guess when anatomically modern humans appeared on planet Earth. So that's that little bit. I believe that this fits into the narrative. I don't think that it is outside of, which makes my narrative kind of wackadoo, because it means that extraterrestrials did this to us. I actually think that we do have extraterrestrial contact and traffic going on around the planet, although I have never seen any of it. My eyesight isn't very good now, so it's not likely that I ever will see any of their vehicles, but I've never had an alien abduction or sighting or anything like that. But my thinking brain has got me to believing that I think that we at least had contact 200,000 years ago. Whether we have it still, that's a question. I believe we probably do, because there's sightings and a lot of military people who have been flying around in the skies for the last, 80 years have been spotting things. And it's been suppressed, and I would understand why it's being suppressed, because it's implying both propulsion systems and gravity control that we don't have and are being kept from us. I think there are human beings on the planet who do understand these things, but they maybe understand them from a more head rather than a head/heart based. I'm not sure why blackest black ops they would have this kind of information unless you can understand it somewhat from a place where you do not understand the configuration of your own soul. Because if you understood the configuration of your own soul, you would only want peace and harmony and co-creation and harmonic resonance with the peaceful workings of the rest of the biofield and all that. You wouldn't be a destructive being if you really understood source energy and your own self. I don't think you would. Hopefully not, because I'm trying to tell everybody about source energy. I think we need to plug into it. I think we need to get away from fossil fuels and get onto the ultimate clean, free, everywhere freaking energy. We have a really bright future on planet Earth, but we need to get our head out of our ass and get on with it. Let's see. I'm going to show you. This is the paper, The Origin of Mass, Nature of Gravity. I give you a link to this paper so you can go look at the whole thing. What else do I want to actually... I was going to quickly run through a bunch of my slides, the slides that I've captured from the video, and the slides that I've captured from the paper. This one's captured from the paper. This one is showing the relationship between the Plancks in the Planck field of a proton and all of the rest of the protons in all of the universe. How it's reflecting them. How that works. Anyway, I realize that there's some other things that I never... Oh, I don't want to do that one anyway. Things like the 5 kleshas, I didn't bring those up. But see, these are considered to be the root causes of all suffering from the Buddhist philosophy. And it mirrors very beautifully my thesis, which is I believe that us not knowing who we are and how reality itself works is the main cause of all human suffering. And I have decided I'm not willing to live in a world that has as much suffering as our world has. And the answer is not for me to die. I don't want to go away. I don't want to live in this world because it's got too much suffering. No. I want the suffering to get better. It is so my intention for us to have a better world. A world without world poverty. A world without scarcity. A world where every single one of our needs, remember the 7 needs? All of our needs can be met. We all have clean air, clean water, sufficient food, peace enough to sleep, relationships with one another, sheltering environment, the ability to express ourselves, and let's just have fun with this freaking world. Because it's so possible. I don't want to face the specifics of the reality that we have created for ourselves right now. I'm not interested in that. I would like us to understand ourselves a little bit better. And now when we readdress our problems, we'll be in a lot better position to actually fix things. Anyway, I didn't do my cymatic thing where I just point out that we live in a vibrational universe. Cymatics is just the study of the relationship between vibration and form. It's not very long spiel. Look at this. These are cymatic patterns. upper right, lower left. That's how it was studied when Hans Jenny began his work. He put a excuse me, granular medium on a metal plate and pipe a frequency through it, and a pattern appears. Change the frequency. The pattern changes. Increase the frequency. The pattern gets more complex. Actually really interesting. And then upper left and lower right, these are cymatic patterns in nature. And a snowflake, look at that. It's actually a cymatic pattern, because as the individual snowflakes are forming in the atmosphere, they're all touching different frequencies. That's why they all come out shaped different. Really cool. We live in a really cool universe. So cool it can fix every problem that we have. Every problem that we're going to uncover in the future, we can solve all of our problems. We are uniquely designed to do so. We just need to get real about who we are. About who we are and about how this works. And to that end, it is my prayer, it is my wish, it is my intention to move us farther down the path in that direction of knowing who we are and how this really works. And I'll be back with you again tomorrow. I have now passed the hour-and-a-half mark, so I need to wind this up. I will be back in studio tomorrow for another hour-and-a-half of gripping radio, or whatever you call this. Until then, I wish you well. I love you so much. Whoever you are, I bid you peace, and may the source be with you.